Ahead of this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS, Kenny Omega's return has been officially teased. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of All Elite Wrestling, and with the AEW Trios World Championships being officially announced and the first ever champions, the first ever AEW Trios World Champions being crowned at AEW All Out, we have the tournament leading up to All Out, and the Young Bucks are without a tag team partner. Now, it's been heavily rumored, even actually kind of spoiled by Tony Khan on several occasions in the past, stating that he would not implement Trios Championships in AEW until Kenny Omega was healthy to return. With the Young Bucks not having a tag team partner currently to compete in the tournament, it's led to a lot of speculation that Kenny Omega is set to return to in-ring action for the first time since Full Gear last November, and he has been teased to return on this week's edition of Being the Elite by none other than the Young Bucks themselves. The Young Bucks have indeed teased Kenny Omega's return, specifically Matt Jackson, who hinted at the arrival on the latest episode of Being the Elite, which of course drops every Monday on YouTube. Now, as I mentioned, Omega has been sidelined since November. He last competed inside of the ring at AEW Full Gear in 2021, where he dropped the AEW World Championship to Hangman Page. Now, he took time away from the ring because he's been recovering from several injuries. He's had knee surgery, he's had hernia surgery, among other procedures. He's been dealing with vertigo, he's been dealing with neck issues, shoulder issues. Basically, any point on the body, Kenny Omega was injured. And the fact that he wrestled for pretty much a year, holding multiple world championships with all of those injuries and delivering high-quality matches is nothing short of sensational. Now, Fightful Select had previously reported, that being Sean Ross Sapp, hat tip to him, that Omega is expected to return to the ring soon based on what staff and talent have been told. Now, as I mentioned, AEW is kicking off the tournament to crown the first ever AEW World Trios Champions on AEW Dynamite this week. Now, the Young Bucks, again, then they need a partner. They've got a mystery tag team partner to face Rush, Dragon Lee, and Andrade El Idolo. I nearly got through all the names properly in a first round bout. Last week, of course, they asked Hangman Page to join forces with them, and he turned them down. On Monday's episode of Being the Elite, Matt Jackson dropped multiple teases about Omega. First, he was wearing a Backstreet Boys t-shirt, which is a reference to a memorable picture that shows Omega and the Bucks, who attended a Backstreet Boys concert in the past. But most notably, at the end of the show, Matt gets a phone call, and he asks the person on the other end, quote, "Are you sure? You're sure you're ready?" This line seemingly hinted that Omega was the person who called Matt, but that's far from a certainty at this point. So that's the latest when it comes to the tease about Omega's return this Wednesday. I'll give you my opinion on that in a second, but we also have an update when it comes to Kenny Omega's contract now that he is indeed returning to the company in terms of in-ring capacity. Of course, he's still currently an AEW Executive Vice President. So there's been a lot of discussion, could Kenny Omega, especially under the regime of Triple H in WWE now, could Kenny Omega follow in the footsteps of Cody Rhodes as the next AEW original, the next EVP, to leave the promotion and go to WWE? According to Dave Meltzer in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, Omega will be a free agent in theory by February of 2023. So he's got less than a year actually left on his deal. According to the Observer, Omega signed a 4-year contract on February 1st, 2019, but has been out of action due to these several injuries since dropping the AEW World Championship to Hangman Page. As such, quote, AEW has the contractual right to extend Omega's contract roughly for another 9 months, according to the Observer. However, there is no indication one way or another if they're going to go in that direction. The Observer noted that the precedent for AEW adding time to an injured talent's contract does exist. Apparently, AEW has extended contracts in the past due to injuries the talent have suffered. Of course, this is nothing new. Freezing contracts is nothing new. WWE has done it on several occasions to several people who were injured. You look at the likes of Rey Mysterio, I know, had time added onto his contract. Jeff Hardy had time added onto his contract. The late Brody Lee also had time added onto his contract when he was exiting WWE as well. WWE has frozen talent contracts in the past that they have done, could have done, but they didn't in the end when it came to Sasha Banks and Naomi. So that's the situation there when it comes to Kenny Omega's contract. Omega actually signed the 4-year deal in 2019. The Observer reports that the other roster members signed 3-year deals with 2-year options. That would mean the Young Bucks, Adam Page, and several other are under contract until the end of 2023. Of course, you do have to remember that I believe that the Young Bucks signed contract extensions. It must be said as well. MJF, we know the situation about his contract. He's going to be a free agent on the 1st of January 2024, something which he has confirmed several times. But in this hiatus, it has been speculated that part of the grand plan with MJF is that he has in fact signed a new, larger, longer AEW contract, but that has yet to be confirmed on that side of things. So we will talk about another thing in a second when it comes to Kenny Omega possibly wrestling for New Japan again, because this is a very Kenny Omega centric video. But when it comes to Kenny Omega returning, I think it's near enough a certainty at this point he's going to be back in the ring on Wednesday. I still have my reservations about whether that's the right thing to do. Not so much in terms of having the Bucks and Omega team up and be the first AEW Trios champion. That makes the most sense in the world. It really does. But I know you're not going to advertise his return, and I'm not saying you should advertise Kenny Omega's return, although it would do a good rating. The idea of really a 1-week tease, a 2-week tease, but really a 1-week tease of the Young Bucks are going to have a mystery partner, and that's how you have Kenny Omega return to the ring, return to in-ring action. I just don't know if that's the right move. You look at AEW Dynamite, who for quite a few months now has really struggled to get over that 1 million viewers mark. First of all, if you advertised it was going to be Kenny Omega, you would do over 1 million viewers, in my opinion. You could do two things. You could have Kenny Omega return as a surprise this Wednesday, but then you could also say Kenny Omega's in-ring return is going to happen next week. You could get 1 million viewers doing that. But on the flip side, for me, Kenny Omega is such a big star. Look at what he did. He's the longest reigning AEW World Champion of all time. Why would you not save that for the pay-per-view? Why would you not build up to that? Why would you not do a bit of a swerve, stretch it out? Why would you not have the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler be the three-man team all the way to the pay-per-view, then Cutler gets hurt and they go, we've got to replace it with someone, and you build interest to the pay-per-view. To me, I don't know how I feel about one of the biggest stars in AEW randomly returning for an episode of Dynamite in terms of in-ring action when he's been out of the ring for close to a year. With no promotion. That to me just seems like a really big missed opportunity. Of course, it's great to have Omega back. We've got Punk back now. We've got Omega back. We've got Bryan Danielson back. Big names coming back to in-ring action, which is something AEW desperately needs. And maybe just having Omega back on the show week to week is that little bit they need to get over 1 million. With CM Punk being back, with Bryan Danielson being back to in-ring action, maybe all of that is what AEW needs right now. But again, I look at the booking here and think, you could get more out of this. You could maybe get more viewers out of this, and that's ultimately really what AEW wants. But look, having Omega back with the Young Bucks is going to be fantastic. They're going to be the first Trios champions. I have no doubt about that, and I'm just hoping, fingers crossed, okay, we're going to see hopefully a better version of Kenny Omega, a healthier version of Kenny Omega, not a 100% version of Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega's basically said, look, if I get hurt again, I'm going to retire, because this was just brutal, what I've had to go through the last 2 years. So all of it's going to be fascinating on that part, but it's, I don't know if it's the best route that they could have taken, but we'll have to wait and see when it comes to that. Now, of course, Omega's synonymous with New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. Multiple major matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think he had hoped to be competing at the Forbidden Door pay-per-view back in June. He couldn't get back in time for that, but fans have been wondering since that event what the next step would be regarding this partnership between AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. In particular, some fans have wondered if we could see several AEW stars make the journey for an AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling Super Show in Japan, or even just compete on a big New Japan show like was happening prior to the pandemic. Well, the answer to that seems to be yes. On an episode of the Wrestling Observer radio show on, I believe it might have been today or Monday, Dave Meltzer answered a mailbag question regarding whether fans should expect to see AEW stars on Wrestle Kingdom 17 this coming January. He said, quote, yes, I don't know how many, but I have in fact been told of certain plans for AEW wrestlers on Wrestle Kingdom. AEW's got enough guys, they could lose 5 or 6 guys even a lot of their top guys, and they can still do a show. Now, Meltzer didn't provide any names of AEW talent that were in the plans for Wrestle Kingdom, though one could safely assume FTR will compete on the show. They're currently the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. They're likely to be featured on the show. Other likely candidates include talent that have been doing shots for New Japan Pro Wrestling, even domestically, but in the past in terms of Japan, i.e. Jon Moxley, has been doing a lot of shots for New Japan and had been doing a lot of shots for New Japan. Chris Jericho, of course, has got a lengthy history of New Japan, worked pretty much every Wrestle Kingdom show after he left WWE. Other names that I would expect to appear would be someone like Bryan Danielson. He said he wants to do matches for New Japan, specifically in Japan on those big shows. Of course, Lance Archer is currently competing in the G1, so that would make sense that he would continue working events and shows for them. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are certainly a possibility as well. So we'll have to wait and see. Wrestle Kingdom, which always takes place on January 4, will actually fall on a Wednesday, which is the same day of AEW Dynamite and also when Rampage is taped. This would mean that several members of AEW's talent pool could be missing the promotion's flagship shows in order to work New Japan's big event of the year. We'll have to wait and see what happens as we get closer to that. But the crossover still remains. Of course, IWGP United States Champion Will Ospreay, along with United Empire teammates Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis, are currently going to be competing in the AEW Trios Championship Tournament. So, again, that working relationship is fine. Are we going to see another Super Show anytime soon? I don't know. I think the most likely destination is having the AEW stars appear at Wrestle Kingdom. As I mentioned, I would expect FTR, Jericho, John Moxley, Bryan Danielson, possibly CM Punk as well. So we'll have to wait and see what they do for that. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Kenny Omega's upcoming AEW return, what you would like to see done. Smash a like on the like button, be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.